Hey, mom friends! This is Functional Medicine for Moms, where we look at motherhood through the lens of functional medicine. I'm your host, Kelly Moline, a pharmacist with advanced training in functional medicine. From pregnancy and postpartum to everyday parent life, we talk root causes, natural solutions, and real stories from our own family's journey, plus conversations with experts along the way. I'm so excited for this long requested episode talking all about holistic fertility. Most women spend more time planning their wedding than preparing their body for pregnancy. So much of our lives, we've been told that if you even look at a man wrong, you'll get pregnant. And so we wait, we prevent, we make sure we're absolutely ready to have this baby. Then you're finally ready. It's so exciting to start this new chapter with your partner. A month passes, you test, and even if you don't say it, you're shocked to see that single line on the pregnancy test indicating that you're not pregnant. You try not to freak out, right? It doesn't always happen right away. You try again, but you see that one line again. You start obsessing. What should I be doing differently to maximize my chances? You start taking pregnancy tests by yourself each month so your partner doesn't feel bad about the test like you do, and you can pretend it doesn't matter that much to you. You start thinking about fertility clinics, IVF, IUI, but that sounds scary too. Is that really the next step? This episode is for the woman who wants to be a mom, the man that wants to be a dad, and who may be thinking about trying to conceive in their future, or they've been trying for a while and feel beaten down from the journey that was supposed to be exciting. Today, we're talking about what actually matters before conception for both women and men. By the end of this episode, you'll understand the biggest hidden fertility roadblocks, what you can start doing now, even if pregnancy isn't on your radar yet, and how to support your hormones naturally. I'm actually a little starstruck because I am joined by Dr. Aumatma today, who I've been following for years regarding holistic fertility. Dr. Aumatma is a seasoned naturopathic doctor and board certified in naturopathic endocrinology with 18 years of clinical experience. Dr. Aumatma also trains doctors seeking to specialize in fertility and is the best-selling author of Fertility Secrets: What Your Doctor Didn't Tell You About Baby Making, which showcases her restorative fertility approach. She has been featured on ABC, CBS, and Fox, along with hundreds of podcasts, share a message of hope for all those struggling with fertility issues. Make sure to check out her podcast, Egg Meet Sperm, for leading fertility education. Welcome, Dr. Aumatma.
Hey Kelly, it's good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. I got a little emotional during that intro. I know I've had a little bit of fertility, trying for a while with my first, and I just feel for all the people who've been messaging me too about trying to conceive. So I'm really excited about this episode.
Yeah, thank you. It's like such a hard journey for so many of us that it's yeah. I'm just like glad to have the conversation and glad to support anyone who is here that's like, oh my God, I just need some direction. I need to know where to go. I need to know what I'm doing or not doing that I should be. So I know so many questions that people are asking themselves and often don't find great answers to.
Yeah, exactly. So can you tell me more about your background and training and why you pursued holistic fertility?
Sure, yeah. So I started in pre-med, like on a conventional pre-med track. It just never really felt right for me. And I was like very quick to be like, where's the mind, body, spirit? Like it's all in one human. Why isn't there a track that is like integrating all of these? And all of my professors were like, "Oh, you're crazy hippie. Like, go to California." And uh and I did. I ended up in California for 15 years, but I really very early on realized that I wanted something that was this like cohesive, integrative approach, and naturopathic medicine was just it. So when I jokingly say that naturopathic medicine found me, I never like went out and found it because no one knew about it. uh,
Exactly.
and and like when I just like got this crazy junk mail, I opened it up and I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is it. This is what I'm doing with my life. And the cover said body, mind, spirit. And like almost in tears, I was like, oh, thank God. I'm not crazy.
Wow, that gave me chills. That's like God telling you exactly what to do.
So yeah, I went into naturopathic medicine, went to medical school, did the whole thing. I had been practicing for 4 or 5 years at the point where my ex-husband wanted to start trying for a baby. And every time he mentioned anything related to a baby, my uterus was screaming, no. And I was like, oh crap. Like here I am. I thought I wanted to be a mother, thought I wanted to do this with this man, but had never really connected that this, what I realized later was like he just wasn't the right person for me to have a child with. And my body just knew that from a very early time in our marriage. And I was like, okay, so if that's true, then what am I doing here? And it led me down this whole path of like, how do I support my fertility? I was freaking out because I was like mid early 30s and um, kind of like what I had conventionally learned was 35 was it. That was the age at which it was going to be over for me. So I was like, well, that's like really soon. So I need to
Yeah.
figure out what this is going to mean. And then the other part of me that was like, I'm a doctor. I can figure this shit out. And I literally like lock myself in a room and research the crap out of fertility for 9 months, only to come out of that with like I actually came out because one of my friends was calling me up. He's like, I need you. I need you. He ran this really busy naturopathic or acupuncture clinic. I I said, okay, fine, I'll come help. Like you need me, I'm there. And it turns out that the lead acupuncturist there was a fertility specialist. So she was like, oh, you're doing all this research. Great, here. And like handed me 500 patients that she hadn't been able to help. And that was the first, it was like the moment where everything kind of came together. And I was like, well, I'm already researching all this stuff. Let's see if it actually works in reality. So I was able to like sift through all of the research very quickly and realize that there's a lot of like things that research says, but it doesn't actually clarify like who is this actually good for? Is it actually going to help this person that I'm trying to help? Or is this just research and it doesn't translate to clinic? And I found that the latter was often true, was great in research, not actually doing anything in reality. And that's when I was like, oh my God, like people need to know that just because you read this on Google or because your friend's neighbor is taking this thing or a million people on Facebook are talking about this supplement, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right thing for you. And it was a lot of my like frustration around like natural medicine and just like functional space. People really think that they can just like research it and like, oh, if I just take all the right supplements, how many times have we had those conversations where it's like, oh yeah, just take the right thing and it'll be fine. But the reality is it doesn't actually work like that. And for me, I really wanted to figure out why wasn't it working like that, right? Like
Hmm.
if all this research says XYZ thing is the perfect thing for fertility, why doesn't it actually do anything? Uh,
Right.
so those were the questions that I started trying to answer, and it led me down this path for the last 15 years now, where it's just been like the deeper and deeper and deeper levels of fertility rabbit holes that I'm like, I'm gonna figure this out. I need this to work. And like for me, what's exciting is to be able to see the patterns and say, oh, yeah, this is going to work because not only does research say it, but I've figured out like this is the pattern of the person that this can help.
Hmm.
And then I don't have to sit and guess whether it will or will not and have them come back in 3 months and be like, oh, yeah, that did nothing. Like uh, people just, fertility people especially, don't have the time.
Right. Yeah.
So we need every single thing that we suggest to be super effective. And we need to know, did it work or did it not work? Do we need to change plans or can we stay? And those are the questions that really led me down this path for so long of like, I want to make sure that the things that we're telling people are the right thing.
Yeah. Can you dive into what holistic fertility even is, what that means?
Yeah. So I, you know, I feel like holistic is this kind of catch-all phrase, but for me, holism is a way of thinking of the body, mind, spirit as a whole human rather than just the body or just the hormones. And then it translates or trickles down into your body is also a whole person. And the way in which your ovaries are responding may not have anything to do with the hormones of the ovaries. It may have to do with the hormones of the brain. So, like, holistic from the aspect of like knowing the interconnections and how this influences this other thing over there, and being able to approach it from a perspective of we don't need one supplement for every single thing that you have going on. We need to really see the connections and the patterns and come down to a place where it's like, oh, this all makes sense in the context of this person. And then with fertility, I take it like one step further, which is it's not just the whole person, it's the whole couple. So
Sure.
really
Yeah.
thinking about like what's your partner doing? What's his thing? Like all of those pieces are very much integrated into this holism approach to fertility.
Yeah. So, how early should women and men start thinking about fertility health?
I say at least the amount of time that you planned your wedding. If you planned your wedding for 18 months, then at least that amount of time should be spent on preparing your bodies to be able to conceive. And I think that that is weird for a lot of people, right? Like we've been taught that we need to protect, not get pregnant, take the birth control, do all the things to prevent pregnancy until you're actually ready. So it's almost like a weird thing to be like, wait, you're telling me like 18 months before I'm actually ready, I need to start preparing my body. But what I've seen is that you can you can do it in shorter periods of time, right? So if someone's out there and they're like, "Oh my God, I've already been trying. Like at this point, just get me pregnant." I don't have 18 months and like totally fine. But if you're thinking about preconception from a place of like, we want to have the healthiest baby possible and we are willing to do the work that it's going to take to get there, it does help to have that like 12 to 18-month period where we're really planning and preparing and doing all the things. And 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 then like someone like me who was kind of like so I told you about my ex-husband and how that led me into the fertility path. What I realized after my divorce was that, oh crap, like my body has been telling me that I'm out of whack for a very long time. Like my hormones were out of whack. I was super exhausted, almost burnt out. And it took me like 3 years to come out of that. So it can take longer than 18 months, depending on what you've been doing with your body and how you've been treating yourself for a very long time. So it can vary.
Yeah. And I think on a podcast long ago when I first was introduced by you, you mentioned something about, well, if both aren't healthy, you're not going to get pregnant, but that's not a bad thing because we don't want an unhealthy like conception that may lead to a miscarriage. And then even some miscarriages happen because there may be something wrong that we don't want that to lead to a baby that, may have horrible issues. So the body is very smart at preventing that too.
Yeah. Yeah, our bodies are like infinitely wise. And I come back to that all the time. It's like it's so easy to think like, "Oh, I'm helping all of these people." But I try to remember like it's not actually me. Like, yes, I'm guiding, yes, I'm supporting, but the body is actually capable of doing the healing on its own. It's just getting the right little things that are needed along the path to get to that state of health on its own. And it can, like, it's incredible that our bodies can do that.
Yeah. They're beautifully and perfectly designed. And then also, it's not just about the actual conceiving, but carrying the healthy pregnancy. Like you said, having a healthy baby as much as possible, having a healthy mom, having the energy to survive postpartum. You know, if everything is taken out of you for having this healthy baby, but now we're depleted and can't do, the birth or the postpartum, now we're not left to like a happy parenthood, which is what we wanted.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's so, I see it very often where women are able to get pregnant faster than they planned. And then they're like, oh, I had a pregnancy loss, or oh, I went through preeclampsia, I went through gestational diabetes. And like, that's fine. It happens sometimes. And modern medicine is able to deal with those things. But how can we set up so that we don't have those issues? And I really do think that they're preventable in a lot of ways, alongside um, having that like healthy baby, healthy postpartum period, which I think can be so challenging, but we often don't have the reserves in our body. And I've jokingly said that my child is a parasite because it literally felt like that when I was pregnant. I was like, oh my God, like I can't consume enough to like keep this little human growing. And it just feels like I'm being sucked dry of everything that I have. So if that is kind of the case, we're growing a whole human inside of us, then we really need to have that like abundant overflow where we won't get to depleted. If we're starting with a empty tank, it's not going to go very far. Versus if it's full or even over abundant, then hey, drain that tank as much as you need. We're good because I may still get to like 3/4 and be okay when I give birth. So that's kind of how I think about it. And I think that there's just so much that we could be doing. And then the other part of this, and I've been saying this for 15 years, people have thought I was crazy, but research is now backing this up. There are more factors on the male side that are impacting our pregnancy. They're impacting whether or not we are going to be having nausea in pregnancy, all the way to like preeclampsia, gestational diabetes, pregnancy losses, recurrent pregnancy losses. There's so much research on major factors on the guy's side that never get tested that are impacting our pregnancy outcomes. And it's heart wrenching for me when Western medicine is like, oh, 3 losses before we even start doing an analysis. And the analysis is only going to be on the female side. Like,
That's crazy.
that's mind blowing to me when in fact the factors are on the guy's side 90% of the time. Sure, she may have some things going on, but in my experience, like 90% of the guys have one, two, or three of the issues that are going to lead to recurrent pregnancy loss, and no one's tested him. And they're like, oh, your sperm are fine. It's fine. Your sperm are okay, but something else is happening in your body that is impacting these pregnancies, and we need to know what it is and address it before you conceive again. Otherwise, the likely chance that it ends in another loss is really high.
Wow. Do you think fertility issues are increasing, or what do you think on that?
Yeah, they are. The rates are definitely going up. When I started in this field, it was 1 in 8 couples between the ages of 18 and 35 that couldn't get pregnant. Now it's 1 in 5. this statistically, it's definitely increased. Are countries around the world where fertility rates have actually dropped below the point that they'll ever be able to get back to like a fertile civilization. So that's a very real thing that's happening. And then the third evidence that we have is that male fertility, so if we just look at sperm counts, we're not even going to talk about quality, just count alone, there has been over a 75% decline in the last 75 years. So, what used to be considered normal for an average male is now like we keep lowering the bar because there's so much decline that most guys would be told, oh, your sperm are shit. But instead, we keep changing the reference ranges because we don't want to freak them out. Right?
Yeah.
Like, we don't want to scare all these guys that are like, oh, your sperm are crap. So it is, I'm partly joking, but that's the reality is like there's such a huge decline. It should be all kinds of red flags going out, telling us or warning us that humanity is like at this crux of we need to figure out what is going on a massive scale, not just the the couple to couple that we're helping. And those things are pretty significant.
Yeah. Let's jump into some of those biggest hidden roadblocks that you see, and then we'll get into like ovulation and males and male sperm and all of that. So, first, what do you see as the most overlooked fertility disruptor, or what do you see?
Hmm. I, hmm. Like which one do I want to choose? I think I think the easiest one that we ought to think about and start with in our own lives is our sleep. And because of the technology and blue light and all of these things that are disrupting the quality of sleep that we get. And if sleep is disrupted, there's a whole domino effect that is happening in our endocrine system. So this is where the interconnections really make sense, is like if we don't get good quality sleep, we are missing this vital hormone called melatonin that is going to flood the reproductive system of rejuvenative, like the vibration of like we're healthy and vital, and melatonin is the most antioxidant hormone produced in our body by ourselves. You can't like supplement your way out of this. It is only beneficial when you produce it yourself.
Wow.
So, like, yes, you can take melatonin to help you sleep, and it will help to a certain extent, but there is nothing to replace the quality of melatonin that is made by your own body. So, I can't stress enough like what impact that has on fertility, because if you're not making that hormone, ovaries are not getting the message to rejuvenate and like you're in a healthy, positive, vibrant state of health. And then, of course, like a whole bunch of dominoes, cortisol issues, thyroid issues, those are all secondary to the fact that the ovaries never got the message that they are bathed in this like vital rejuvenation that they need every single night. So, for all the all the ladies out there that are like, "Oh, I can do an all-nighter. Oh, I can stay out till 4 and party." And like I did these things too, right? But it took me years to realize that the impact that that was having on my fertility was significant. And if we can prevent it from the beginning, we're going to do so much more for our systems. And then males, same, they're getting the same message. Melatonin is having that similar impact on the testes, on the male reproductive system to rejuvenate that. So it is, yeah, I think sleep is probably the biggest thing. And the more sleep disruptors you have, I was talking to this guy the other day who's like, oh, we have this like giant TV in our room in our bedroom. Like we watch TV. It's on well when we fall asleep and it's still going on and then we wake up at 2 in the morning and turn it off. And I'm like, not only are you watching at bedtime, it's disrupting the production of your melatonin, but then it's still on. So in the background, your brain is still thinking that it's on, not that it's wiring down for sleep. So, like, really, really, really important to prioritize that, and the earlier the better. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Hey, really quick before we jump back in, I just want to share this in case it's meant for someone listening right now. If you're a mom who feels like you're just surviving the day, relying on caffeine just to function, or if you've been feeling off in your body, even months or a year postpartum, you are not alone. I also work with women who are trying to prepare their body for their first pregnancy or their next pregnancy and want to do it a natural, proactive way. Through my functional medicine practice, I offer a health analysis appointment where we really take the time to look at your symptoms, your health history, your lifestyle, and decide which labs would actually be helpful for you. That might include things like cortisol and hormone testing, gut health, metabolic health, and more. And all of these labs get shipped directly to your home, so it's very convenient. Once results come in, we walk through them together so you can fully understand what's going on in your body, and we build a personalized supplement and health plan with optional coaching support as well. The goal isn't quick fixes, it's optimizing your health naturally and giving your body what it needs to heal the way it was designed to. If this sounds like something you've been needing, you can find the link in the show notes to learn more or schedule a call. All right, let's jump back in. Yeah. So you talked about stress and thyroid. So how much does stress actually impact fertility?
It's pretty significant. There's probably like at least 3,000 studies on the impact of stress and fertility. They're probably one of the best ones. There's a study out of University of California, San Diego, I think, that talks about they studied the impact of self-reported stress. So this is not even, they weren't measuring anything. They were just like women who reported that they were stressed before an IVF cycle had a 83% something really high decline in IVF outcomes than the women who self-reported that they were not stressed. Like what? So just your experience of your own stressors is enough to impact IVF outcomes. And I feel like that's pretty much a no-brainer. Like if we're not working on and a lot of people will come and be like, well, I can't like go on vacation every month or I can't blah blah blah. And like the way we have created in our culture the understanding that we have about stress, which is, oh, I need to like avoid stress, is not the reality. The problem, I think, is that we haven't upgraded our stress systems. So we need to be able to better adapt to the stressors that we have. And we need to be able to do that in our everyday life. So great if you want to go on vacation, great if you can go on vacation, but that vacation is not likely to impact how you regulate your nervous system. And what's so important and so crucial is really knowing how you regulate, how to self regulate frequently so that you are able to keep the experience of stress in your body at bay. So this is not like you have zero stressors. This is actually like we just need a massive upgrade to our nervous system and our adrenal system to not be triggered by every single thing that's coming at us because those things are going to keep existing. And we just need to like evolve as humans to be able to be like, I got this,
Yeah.
right?
Handle the stress better.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You can't always quit your job or whatever, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
And then can you tell me more about the role of gut health and inflammation too?
Yeah. So gut health is probably another big factor that is impacting fertility. There is there are several layers of gut health that are important to look at. One is the basics of the microbiome, the bugs that are hanging out in our gut that are either pro fertility or anti fertility. And there are actually some very anti fertility bugs that could just be hiding out in our digestive system that are not really giving a ton of symptoms, right? What most of the time people come in and say, "Oh, yeah, I have a little gas and bloating and like that's normal, right?" Or, "Oh yeah, I'm a little constipated. That's normal, right?" And we have this like idea that quote unquote old is correlated, and I'm putting it in quotes because most of these people are like in their 30s. They're like, "Oh, it's just me getting older." I'm like, dude, you're not that old. Like 30 is not old. But we have this idea that it should be expected that there's some decline with age. And we that's another like ingrained perspective of age and how we age in our culture that is just so skewed. There are, for me, like I feel very blessed. I've had lots of examples of mentors, teachers in their like 80s, 90s, even close to 100 that are like vital, vital. Like they could kick my butt in a race, right? Like they're more fit than I am. And I'm like, how? What are you doing? How is this possible? So I have very different perspective of what I want to be like when I'm old, and it is not in alignment with, oh, there's going to be this general decline and I'm going to have all these things happening. And gut is one of them. So, gut is probably the biggest thing that we write off and we pass off as like, whatever, it's normal. But it's slowly eroding at what should be happening in our bodies. And the gut is kind of the core of that. The second piece around the gut is what is happening on the immune system level inside the gut. So 80% of our immune system is actually at the gut lining. And if that lining is not intact, if it's not doing its job, part of that is going to be the microbes. So you have shitty microbes that are affecting the lining of the intestines, that are weakening the immune system there. Then these food proteins are kind of sneaking in and causing inflammation or immune reactions that are then domino affecting other parts of the body, fertility being the biggest one. So we get this, either we get a generalized inflammation all around, which is basically like having really good egg or sperm and then throwing it into the fire and being like, yes, you're going to survive. Like, no, you can have the most amazing eggs in the world. They're not going to survive a fire. That's one piece of it. So there can be this generalized inflammation, or the other piece, which I I felt like it was a really like weird suggestion to people, but what I had started noticing was a lot of the I kind of have specialized in recurrent pregnancy loss. So I see a lot of recurrent pregnancy loss ladies, and they would come in and I would be like, you have some like generalized inflammation signs. You'd have like joint pain or postnasal drip, or they had these like weird symptoms that I was like, I think we should test your food sensitivities. And we're really doing this like immunological test of food sensitivities, not the surface level IgG test that most companies offer. So we'd come back and they would come back with these like crazy results. Sure enough, they have what we like loosely call intestinal permeability or leaky gut. And I started seeing that there was this correlation. So when they were having recurrent pregnancy losses, they also had this like immune reaction. And we there was a study that came out in 2017, cannot Like, please don't message me to find it. It makes me so sad that I can't find this study anymore. But it was basically like intestinal permeability in the gut causes intestinal permeability in the uterus. And I was like, what? Mind blown.
Wow.
And they were basically correlating that the lining of the gut is very similar to the lining of the uterus. So if you have this same thing happening in the gut, it's going to transfer and translate to what's happening in the uterus. And I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. Like science backing up what I had been seeing in practice, but didn't really have a reasoning of why. It was just one of those things that was like, I don't know, it's correlated. Let's fix the gut and you're going to have a better pregnancy next time. Um, that really got supported with a study that I can't find. So that like things like that are happening in the gut. And then we have a fourth factor in the gut that is the hormone metabolization that happens at the gut level. So our hormones are metabolized out of the gut, the main one being estrogen. And if your estrogen is not being metabolized correctly, it's sort of like your liver that makes these trash bags. And it's like you taking a trash bag and like putting it by the door for your husband to come home and take out. And it's sitting there and he comes home and he's like, what? Let's spread this trash all around the house. That's literally what your gut is doing if the microbes are not right and isn't doing the metabolization correctly, is like the liver created this trash bag, gave it to the person to take out, and instead of taking it out, the body just decided, oh, we're just going to spread it all around. So there are so many layers of what's happening in the gut that is then directly or indirectly reflecting on fertility. And I'll add one more to that list, which is nutrient absorption. So if you have weird stuff happening in your gut, you're not absorbing nutrients properly, then unfortunately, you need those nutrients to make really good quality eggs. And we see this so often where women are like, but I'm taking all these supplements. And then we get their report back and it's like, you're not absorbing any of it. What's happening? Right. And it's like, it's not the lack of the right diet. You can have the perfect diet and still be not absorbing these nutrients. You can take thousands of dollars worth of supplements and not be absorbing the nutrients. So really making sure that all levels of what could be happening in the gut is being addressed, looked at deeply, and making sure that there isn't a link between what's going on in the gut and how that is affecting your hormones or your egg quality or pregnancy outcomes is really, really important.
So it sounds like you think the gut is important.
Yeah, think yes. Super important. Super important. This is why it's hard to choose like the one thing that is the most important, because there's so many interconnections of what's happening that we we kind of have to look at all of it. And in a functional practice, it's really easy to do thousands of dollars worth of testing to figure it all out. So, our in my experience, I've gotten to like, okay, let's just do like get to a narrow group of tests that are absolutely essential. And then we can do more if we need to, but let's simplify. Let's really figure out like from a basic blood chemistry panel, how much can you figure out to say, oh, this actually correlates to what's happening in the gut, or this is an immune dysfunction and it's starting somewhere else. Let's figure out where that immune dysfunction is starting. And that's kind of the approach that we've taken, because it can get super overwhelming for people to be like, what, $10,000 worth of testing? Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
And they're coming in thinking, oh, but I've already done all the testing because they went to a regular doctor who was like, yep, we're done. There's nothing else for you to test. We don't know why you're not getting pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And then they come to us and we're like, we have some ideas about why you're not getting pregnant.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to pause right there. If this is blowing your mind, part 2 is where we get super actionable. The biggest mistakes couples make, how to time your fertile window without obsessing, and the top sperm disruptors. Hit subscribe. Part 2 drops next week. Thanks so much for listening to my podcast, Functional Medicine for Moms. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe so you never miss one, leave a quick 5-star review, and share it with your mom friends who love it too. I'm Kelly with a background as a pharmacist and training in functional medicine. I help women move past fatigue, brain fog, gut issues, and hormone struggles so they can thrive in everyday life or prepare for a healthy pregnancy. Through lab testing, personalized supplements, and functional medicine coaching, I help you feel better, faster, naturally. Want to connect more? Head over to molinmethod.com or come hang out with me on Instagram and YouTube at Functional Medicine for Moms. On my site, you can order professional grade supplements at my discount or book a free discovery call if you'd like to see how we can work together on your health. This podcast is for educational purposes only and not medical advice. Always talk to your provider before making changes to your health plan. And remember, healthy moms raise healthy families. Catch you next time. New episodes released every Wednesday. And don't forget, part 2 of this conversation drops next week. So make sure you're subscribed so it shows up automatically.